thanks everyone for coming for this lovely poetry session. We have these poetry sessions every evening. It's really nice to see you all here.
Thank you very much, Anisha. And thank you very much, my co poets and the audience here, for supporting me in this second volume of poetry that I've dared to write. So, this particular book carries 76 poems and is divided into 5 sections. Imagine yourself standing in front of the sky with some clouds and trying to sign on it. So many people have asked me about the title, and I've said it's about identity and erasure because we think that signature is our identity, but like the clouds that move away and the scenario changes, we are impermanent people. So that's what the book is about. There are 5 sections, but I'm just going to read 2 or 3 poems and explain just in a sentence why I wrote them. The first section is about climate change. And we've been brought up in a colonial syllabus that tells us there are 4 seasons. But actually, in India, and Kalidas, many centuries before us, told us there are 6 seasons. So I'm going to read a poem called Ghurni, Whirlwinds in the Summer. And this takes me back to my childhood in Jaipur when it wasn't such a built up city. And we definitely saw the ghurni or the whirlwind and almost felt sucked up within it. So here is the poem Grishma's torrid sun pounding the loose sands till the rocks crumble to dust. Suddenly, a spirit force starts a dervish dance. Whirl, twist, turn the sand upwards in a spiral of frenzied motion and symmetry, choreographed by the invisible master of summer winds. What if I entered that swirl? Would the vortex takes me flying to Grishma's sun-baked skies? If my body disintegrated and became sand, would my soul be reborn as the Dhruvatara, glowing despite the vaporous, maddening jower of the Ghurni? Is this dying or living anew? Thank you. Thank you. The second poem I'll read to you because I want to send you immediately looking for jalebis in Jaipur. So, once again, a Jaipur poem where this is how it tells the story of why and how people eat jalebis, but it has a modern twist to it also. Breakfast is doodh jalebi in this city of royals. Crunchy circles of sugary gold drenched in oil and dipped in rabdi. No one linked jalebis with diabetes, obesity, nephritis when we gorged on this delightful start to a perfect day of sunshine and peacock calls. Today, labeled as street food, it's amusing that non jalebi eaters flock to gyms and GPs or general physicians, while old city dwellers collect their mud sakoras of rabdi and pour in the crisp jalebis from newspaper cones soaked in desi ghee. Their workout place is the mustard field in winter, the bajra groves in summer, and their health reward is the pot full of sinful jalebis, sinless every morning. Are you showing the poems? Yeah, okay. So the third one, or let me go to Lakshmi. Can I do that? Lakshmi, the next one, not the mother one. Yeah. So, one of my interests is in writing about marginalized women in mythology. And Namita and I have done this goddess trilogy of the last one was Lakshmi. And in studying about Lakshmi, we discovered a lot about a Lakshmi and discovered why before Diwali we sweep out our bad luck, so called, and the muck in the house. So, this is a poem about the gentleness of Lakshmi, the generosity of Lakshmi, and that a Lakshmi is not such a bad woman, really. So, here it is. Everywhere, the elder sister is worshipped, but I'm beaten away with a broom. I didn't choose to emerge first from the Samudra Manthan. Maybe the Devs and the Asurs were testing their powers and using me as a victim, like women are often fated to be. But I'm Jeshta, the older, ugly, wrinkled, misshapen. I watched awestruck as my younger sibling Lakshmi emerged from the ocean. Lakshmi, lotus throned, glowing in gold and effulgence, in her hands the Akshay Patra of plenty, alongside the Kamdhenu cow whose milk never ceases, and Kalpataru, the wish fulfilling tree. She with a garland of lotus for a worthy groom. I burnt with jealousy, determined to harm all whom she blessed. I roamed the earth, reviled, hated, cursed, abandoned by all. Why? One night, my sister Lakshmi came, sat by my side, stroking my wounds, healing me of insane hatred. And she said, "The world is not logical, dear one." Thank you. Is there time for another one? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for those lovely poems. We'll go to the next poet now, Makran Paranjpe. Makran Paranjpe is a distinguished scholar, writer, and public intellectual. He served for nearly 25 years as professor of English at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and was director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. Author and editor of more than 50 books and hundreds of academic papers, he's also a poet, novelist, and columnist. His recent books include Hindutva and Hind Swaraj, History's Forgotten Doubles, Mahatma Gandhi, Mrityu aur Punaruthan, The Penguin Sri Aurobindo Reader, and Identity's Last Secret. He is currently Sri Aurobindo Chair, Honorary at Vidar University and Director of Education at Access Healthcare Physicians, Florida. Professor Paranjpe began publishing poetry in English in the 1980s, emerging from the same milieu as the post-independence generation of Indian English poets who were negotiating questions of identity, modernity, and Indianness. Unlike many of his contemporaries, however, his poetry is explicitly philosophical and civilizational in its concerns, anticipating the ideas he would later develop in his critical prose. I invite Dr. Paranjpe to read from his work.
Thank you, Anisha. That was a wonderful introduction. And congratulations, Mala. Yeah, we should be singing in the rain or signing in the air. It's the same thing. But, I was in a session in the very same venue just an hour ago, and it was packed because it was on politics. And now we are at the end of the day with poetry, but the few that are here are the select few, as Milton would say. So these poems I want to dedicate to my little daughter, who's not yet 4. But they're all poems about aging. And what's interesting, at least to me, is that I've tried to write sonnets. So I'm trying to, go back to writing with rhyme and with some sort of meter, but also in a conventional form, which I never tried before. So please indulge me in case there's something wrong, because it's an experiment. So I'm going to read 3 sonnets, and they're called Aging Against Time. Though separated by families and continents, it's just a little intro note. Though separated by families and continents, some friendships thrive on once a year birthday greetings. Who could have thought it possible that what keeps them together is learning to age? She, so gracefully, he, more grudgingly, but neither can dispute the beauty of souls, limbic grace, which in her case comes with age. So this is just the intro note. So the first sonnet is called Friendship Forbids Forgetting. Though separated by seas and families, our friendship persists, defying time's decrees. Once a year birthday exchange weaves ties delicate, gently binding like tendrils. Who would have thought age draws nearer when grace fills each crease? You wear your years lightly, I, more sear, resist time, clutching at whatever is new. In the photo exchange, I find a gentle muse, lessons in the art of growing wise, taught in a manner I can scarcely refuse. Beauty grows when age is no disguise. Together apart, life's cycles unfold, pure in spirit, shared ideas hold. Thank you. Thank you. It's also about platonic friendships and why they are important, and not just relationships of physical passion. Anyhow, second one is called, again, a sonnet, Limbic Grace, which is a kind of recurrent motif in these poems. Who could dispute the beauty of the soul, spark transcending years untouched by time? Yet flesh and form play a fleeting role, fading shadows cast in youth's bright prime. But you, so lovely in maturity, not decline, find limbic grace that deepens in every line, glimpses of honeysuckle and moonshine. Every movement whispers wisdom's grand design, and I, begrudging, fight what I behold, the mirror mocking my last-ditch stand. But in you shines a truth so calm, so bold, that aging's dance is life's second chance. Through your serene embrace of what must be, I glimpse a path to reality by learning humility. Thank you, thank you. And the last one in this sequence of sonnets, ties that do not bind but grow with time. Age unveils what youth cannot contain, the sound of insight's subtle chime, an elegance born of life's joy and pain, teaching us not to fear the ravages of time. Craving no permanence in a human face, our spirits grow warmer with words unsung, finding in silence heart's enduring grace. We dwell in the seasons untied, undone, loss and laughter unspun in fragile threads. Spring faded, summer's done, but autumn's just begun, hoarding gold and leaf-strewn beds. This year, your birthday is by a day forgotten, for which I must pay. No apologies will do, only a line or two of verses, terse and true. Thank you, thank you. And the last one, Anisha is looking at me saying your time's up, but it's just a sonnet, 14 lines, the last one. And actually, this is about the first of this lot, that these poems were about resisting age, which is ridiculous. You can't resist it. You have to own it, embrace it, and celebrate it. But this is actually about celebrating poetry, what fellow poets do for one another by sharing poetry. So what happens when you receive an especially moving chapbook of poems from a friend? Poetry creates its own response, which is not reaction but new creation. And here's the sonnet. Your poem arrives, welcome visitor at dawn. Through twilight's gloom and late night seance, I struggled over the meaning of things, but your morning verse makes it all right. Elation gleams in the overmined stream. Muse entwined in spirit's upward spiral, dances in the light by sacred visions shed. Unlike the undermine's cold creeping shade, or under winds, foul breath from vital stale, mere gas vaporized from sodden ground. Yet in your words are deeper ties found, the link that persists in quicksand or shifting ground. Poetry, the paraclete with flaming wand, eternal awake against the dark night's howl. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Paranspe, for your deeply relatable poems. Next, we have Ms. Devyani Bharadwaj. Devyani Bharadwaj is a poet, writer, and translator. Her poetry books include Uski Ichhaon Mein Barish and Ichha Nadi Ke Pul Par. Her poems, articles, and translations have appeared in leading Hindi newspapers, magazines, and digital platforms. She received the Prem Bhatia Memorial Fellowship and Rajasthan Patrika Kavita Samman. Uski Ichhaon Mein Barish Thi is the name of a collection of poems, as I just mentioned. It depicts the deep feelings of a woman, her suppressed dreams, desire for freedom, and the suffocation arising from patriarchy through the metaphor of rain, where rain symbolizes the arrival of her dreams and new feelings which provide relief from the sultry afternoon of despair. Ichha Nadi Ke Pul Par is another one of her famous poems. It depicts the emotions, waiting, and slow pace of life of a woman standing on a bridge that could break at any moment, just like her desires and hopes. The poem is a symbolic depiction of the uncertainty of life and the inner conflict of a woman who contemplates jumping into the river before the bridge breaks, but remains standing there for centuries. I invite Ms. Bharadwaj to read from her work.
बहुत शुक्रिया। और JLF का मंच ऐसा मंच है जो हमें अलग अलग भाषाओं में एक साथ कविताएं पढ़ने का मौका देता है। तो अभी तक आपने अंग्रेज़ी में सुना, अब आप कुछ कविताएं हिंदी में सुनेंगे और मुझे उम्मीद है आप पसंद करेंगे। जैसा बताया अलीशा ने, मेरे संग्रह का नाम है उसकी इच्छाओं में बारिश थी। मैं इसी शीर्षक से पहली कविता पढ़ती हूँ। उसकी इच्छाओं में बारिश थी, वहाँ बादल नहीं था, उसकी इच्छाओं में बारिश थी। वहाँ बादल नहीं था, उसकी इच्छाओं में बारिश थी। वो सपनों में बादल देखती और बारिश का इंतज़ार करती। बादल को उसकी इस हरकत पर हंसी आती और उसे चिढ़ाने में मज़ा आता। वो मुंह फेरती और बादल पानी बरसा जाता। इस तरह बारिश अक्सर या तो उसके चले जाने के बाद होती या उसके पहुंचने से पहले ही हो जाती। ये दूसरी कविता है, प्रेम पर कुछ और कविताएं। इसमें दो छोटी छोटी कविताएं हैं। पहली, मैंने खाली मुट्ठी को खोल दिया और सारी तितलियां उड़ गईं। मैंने खाली मुट्ठी को खोल दिया और सारी तितलियां उड़ गईं। बंधन नहीं था कोई, लेकिन कोई डोर थी। वो लौट आता था इधर उधर उड़ते हुए कभी कभार। एक दिन मैंने कहा, सुनो, बंधन लगता होगा ना, मैं इस डोर को छोड़ देती हूँ। वह नहीं आया उस दिन के बाद इधर। दूसरी कविता है, वह जो था बीच की जगह में नहीं था। वह जो था बीच की जगह में नहीं था, जो मेरे मन में था वही डुबोए देता था मुझे। उसके मन में जाने क्या था। बीच में बस एक जगह थी जिसमें कभी कभी कॉफ़ी के 2 मग होते थे, मेज़ पर 2 जोड़ी हाथ होते थे, कुछ बातें जो कही नहीं जाती थी, निगाह जो अटक जाती थी, पढ़ी नहीं जाती थी। फिर भी एक जगह थी जो बीच में थी। याद में अब भी है, जब बीच में थी याद में तब भी रहती थी। और इस कविता का शीर्षक है पूरी नहीं हुई। कहीं भी लिखकर मिटाई नहीं जा सकती कोई इबारत, न लिखा बाकी रहता है न मिटता है, लिखे के निशान रह जाते हैं। तुम्हारे चले जाने से मिट नहीं जाती वो इबारत जो लिख दी थी तुमने देह पर, निशान जिसके हृदय पर रह गए हैं। मैं तुम्हारा नाम लिखती हूँ कागज़ पर, मिटा देती हूँ। घर में बिखरे पड़े हैं कागज़, बच्चे पूछते हैं क्या लिख रही थी मम्मा। मैं बताती हूँ कविता थी, पूरी नहीं हुई। शुक्रिया। और इस कविता का शीर्षक है इच्छा नदी के पुल पर। इच्छा नदी का पुल किसी भी क्षण भरभरा कर ढह जाएगा। इच्छा नदी का पुल किसी भी क्षण भरभरा कर ढह जाएगा। इस पुल में दरारें पड़ गई हैं बहुत और नदी का वेग बहुत तेज है। सदियों से इस पुल पर खड़ी वह स्त्री कई बार कर चुकी है इरादा कि पुल के टूटने से पहले ही लगा दे नदी में छलांग। नियति के हाथों नहीं, खुद अपने हाथों लिखना चाहती है वह अपनी दास्तान। इस स्त्री के पैरों में लोहे के जूते हैं और जिस जगह वह खड़ी है वहाँ की ज़मीन चुंबक से बनी है। स्त्री कई बार झुकी है इन जूतों के तस्मे खोलने को और पुल की जर्जर दशा देख ठहर जाती है, सोचती है कुछ। क्या वह किसी की प्रतीक्षा में है या उसे तलाश है उस नाव की जिसमें बैठ वह नदी की सैर को निकले और लौटे झोली में भर भर शंख और सीपियाँ। नदी किनारे के छिछले पानी में छप छप नहीं करना चाहती वह, आकंठ डूबने के बाद भी चाहती है लौटना बार बार। उसे प्यारा है जीवन का तमाम कारोबार। एक और इस कविता का शीर्षक है सूखे गुलमोहर के तले। चौके पर चढ़कर चाय पकाती लड़की ने देखा उसकी गुड़िया का रिबन चाय की भाप में पिघल रहा है। चौके पर चढ़कर चाय पकाती लड़की ने देखा उसकी गुड़िया का रिबन चाय की भाप में पिघल रहा है। बर्तनों को मांजते हुए देखा उसने उसकी किताब में लिखी इबारतें घिसती जा रही हैं। चौक बुहारते हुए अक्सर उसके पाँवों में चुभ जाया करती हैं सपनों की किरचें। किरचों के चुभने से बहते लहू पर गुड़िया का रिबन बांध लेती है वह अक्सर। इबारतों को आंगन पर उकेरती और पहुँच देती है खुद ही उन्हें। सपनों को कभी जूड़े में लपेटना और कभी साड़ी के पल्लू में बांध लेना साध लिया है उसने। साइकिल के पैडल मारते हुए रोज़ नाप लेती है इरादों का कोई एक फासला। बिस्तर लगाते हुए लेती है थाह चादर की लंबाई की। देखती है अपने पैरों का पसार और समेट कर रखती जाती है चादर को। सपनों का राजकुमार नहीं है वह जो उसके घर के बाहर साइकिल पर लगाता है चक्कर। उसके स्वप्न में घर के चारों तरफ दरवाजे हैं जिनमें धूप की आवाजाही है। अमलताज के बिछौने पर गुलमोहर झरते हैं वहाँ। जागती है वह जून के निर्जन में सूखे गुलमोहर के तले। शुक्रिया, बहुत शुक्रिया।
Thank you, ma'am, for those lovely poems. Next, we have Ms. Parmita Satpathy. Parmita Satpathy is an eminent bilingual writer in Odia and English, and she received the Sahitya Academy Award for her book Prapti in Odia, titled A Boundless Moment in English, in the English translation. So far, around 25 books of hers have been published in original Odia and in translation in other Indian languages. From story collections and novels to poetry collections, including Intimate Pretense, A Boundless Moment, and Colors of Loneliness. She received the prestigious Sahitya Academy Award in 2016 for Prapti, a collection of novellas. Her works have been included in the course curriculum of different universities, and students have attained PhD on her work. She has widely traveled across the country and abroad, presenting her work through readings and taking part in literary discourse. She is presently working as the Chief Commissioner of Income Tax in New Delhi. I invite Ms. Satpathy to read from her work.
me try. लाई तो नहीं हो. Good evening, everybody. Till now, you had poets who have written in their own language. I write in Odia. These have been translated, but I'm sorry that I have forgotten to send the copies that I would be reading in Hindi, which could have been posted here, and probably you could have followed those easily. So please, I would love to have more of your attention. I have to have it because I'll be reading on my own. ये हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन है मेरी कविताएं. I had taken cue from Devyani, starting from love, the eternal thing, whether we are young or old. कविता के शीर्षक के मंत्र. तुम कहते थे प्यार श्यार बेकार की बातें हैं, 3 पेग व्हिस्की के बाद दे ही है सब. पर कहो तो कैसा लगता अगर उस देह पर प्रेम का एक हल्का सा लेप चढ़ा होता. तुम्हारी बाहों में अंधेरे में हरनी की आंखों का फस्फरस सा वह जगमग करता. अगर सब कुछ मांस और चमड़ी की होती, खून की ये लपलपाती आग ओस की अनगिनत बूंदों से, जनवरी की ठिठुरनी भरी रातों से, या झरझर बेमौसम बरसात से बिना बुझे जलती. सिर्फ होता चमड़ी और मांस का सांवला पसीना तुम्हारा जी भर पीने के बाद कहाँ से लौट आती प्यास 7 समुंदर की. प्रेम मगर कुछ भी नहीं, प्रेम मगर कुछ भी नहीं, उस सांझ नदी किनारे क्यों पूछा था बार बार. कहो तो कौन लग रहा है सबसे अच्छा, मैं या ये सुहानी सांझ या कि नदी का ये किनारा. One more on the, sad side of love. The शीर्षक is माँ बेटी की बातचीत. इतने सारे निशान क्यों है माँ तेरे बदन पर. क्या बताऊं बेटी, हर निशान का एक इतिहास है, गुजरा है जो मेरे बदन से, मन से और अपने पीछे छोड़ आई अंधेरे सुरंग से. ये जो सबसे गहरा निशान देख रही है मेरी बाएं वेव पर, तब का था जब मैं थी तेरी जैसी. थी बहुत डरपोक, चेहरे पर कोई निशान न बन जाए तभी हर रोज जलाया करती थी सांझावती चौरे पे. कहूँ या ना कहूँ बेटी, कहूँ या ना कहूँ बेटी, प्यार करना इतना पैना होता है कि काट डालता है हृदय, छोड़ जाता है एक निशान. कभी कभी इतनी जल्दी कि सांस लेने तक भी फुर्सत नहीं मिल पाती. One more again, love and not love. जादूगर. पहली ही बार चांद मेरे आगे आगे दौड़ा, मछलियां मैदान में चलने लगी, बादल की जूते पैरे में चुभने लगे. तुम्हारी ओर बढ़े मेरे दोनों हाथ इंद्रधनुष बन गए, रुई और तितलियों में बांट दिया अपना अंतरंग अहंकार. दूसरी बार तुम्हारे हाथी दांत के पलंग पर मेरी आंखों की चमचमाहट लिस गई. तीसरी बार सपनों में पंख बिंद कर मुझे तुम्हारे महल के स्फटिक दीवार पर टिका दिया. चौथी बार आवेश में बोझिल आकाश और समुद्र के बीच हमारी बहती हुई नाव. पांचवी बार हमारे जुगनद परछाई के उत्ताप से तुम्हारे लन की घास जल गई. और उसके अगली बार नदी में आग, उपत्यका में तारे, पहाड़ पर कमल. ऐसा मुग्धकारी अद्भुत लगभग हर बार हुआ. इसे अनंत इंद्रजाल के बीच मेरी और कनखी से देखकर तुम अचानक मुड़ गए. तुम्हारे होठों से कोहरे की धारा पसर रही थी. अंतिम बार के लिए मेरे सामने चाकू का एक बात चमक गई, तुम खूबसूरत हो, पर ये महज बाजीगरी है प्यार करने की। One or two? One more? Two, okay. So this is a little different kind of a poem. बासमती के आंसू, बासमती चावल के आंसू। बड़े धूमधाम से भोज भात का आयोजन है मिश्र जी के यहाँ बड़े बेटे के शादी में। शहर के सबसे नामी गिरामी होटल में है खाना पीना। 50 से ज़्यादा पकवान, बंद नहीं हो रही विदेशी शराब की धार। एक थाली की दर कहते हैं 2000 में तय हुआ था। 3000 मेहमान, किस किस को ना बुलाएं। टोला पड़ोस, कुटुंब, बचपन के साथी, मंत्री संतरी या दूर के रिश्तेदार। देखो कैसी अनहोनी हुई, हांडी भर बासमती पानी बन बह गई। देखो तो किसी अनहोनी हुई, हांडी भर बासमती पानी बन बह गई। रसोई से रोते हुए बासमती कह रही थी, अभी अभी खबर आई है हरि नायक की। कितने प्यार से आधी रात से रोपा था मुझे, सहलाती थी धान की बालियां और फुसफुसाकर कह रहा था, देखना इस साल मेरा बोझा उतर जाएगा। जैसी महक रही है ना तू, बयाना देकर उठा ले जाएंगे तुझे, एक से बढ़कर एक मालदार। 60,000 भला होता है कितना। सुबह के अखबार में गर्मा गर्म 2 खबरें। मिश्रा जी के बेटे की शादी में 60 लाख की भोज भात बर्बाद हो गया। सारा के सारा बासमती का भात पानी बन बह गया। नौगांव का किसान हरि नायक 60,000 चुका न पाकर कीटनाशक पी गया। सो आखिरी पोएम शीर्षक है साड़ी। अगेन देवजानी कुछ बोले हैं स्त्रियों के ऊपर, में भी साड़ी है शीर्षक। 5.5 मीटर की मर्यादा से मैंने खुद को लपेट लिया है और अपनी गरिमा में खुद उलझ रही हूँ। याद नहीं कभी ये मर्यादा किसी से हाथ पसार कर मांगी थी या जबरन खींच लाई थी, या किसी की लाल आंखों का इशारा था, या था सपनों में खोए उस नौजवान का घबराया सा पहला उपहार। अपने पहनावे की महिमा बखन रही थी मेरी दूसरी बहनें, अपने मन मुताबिक सुविधा, सरल, स्वच्छंद, ऐसे कुछ शब्दों की ज्यामिति। पर मैं चुप थी। कैसे समझाती उन्हें कि मेरा परिधान आध्यात्मिक है। रात को घर लौटकर नाप नूप कर उस साड़ी के कई टुकड़े किए और हर टुकड़े को मंत्र पढ़ पढ़ कर उड़ा दिया। एक टुकड़ा उस कबाड़ बटोरने वाली औरत के फटे घाघरे में पैबंद लगाने के लिए, एक बलात्कार के बाद गांव की अमराई में फेंकी गई नंगे शव को ढकने के लिए, एक बड़े अस्पताल के वंश वार्ड में दहेज न लाने वाली नई नवेली के लिए रखे 10 नंबर बेड की चादर बनाने को, आखिरी टुकड़ा 5 सितारा होटल में 5 ग्राहकों को शराब परोसने वाली लड़की के इतनी सी छोटे बख्श बंधन में सिले जाने के लिए। सुबह देखा सारे टुकड़े लौट आए हैं और फिर से जुड़कर मुझे सर से पांव तक ढकने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। मेरे पेट, छाती और पीठ का तब भी कुछ हिस्सा दिख रहा है। इतनी लंबी साड़ी भी जिसे छिपाने को कम पड़ रही है, इतनी लंबी साड़ी भी जिसे छिपाने को कम पड़ रही है। थैंक यू।
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Miss Hoinhu Hozel. Hoinhu Hozel is a native of Manipur. She completed her schooling in Shillong and Delhi and has a master's degree in political science from Delhi University. She has been a journalist for the last 15 years and has worked with the Asian Age, Indian Express, Hindustan Times, the Times of India, and Telegraph in Delhi. She is currently pursuing an independent writing career and continues to promote the Northeast through her writing and entrepreneurial ventures like her travel portal, Northeast Odyssey, and a digital Northeast lifestyle magazine, Any Travel and Life. She is also the founder of COVID Tales and is the author of the Essential Northeast Cookbook. Her latest book, Stories the Fire Could Not Burn, continues her exploration of food history, cultural practices, regional identity, and themes of resilience. She also has to her credit a book of poems, Moments of Time. This book is for her a step towards the promotion of the region. Her coffee table book on Manipur is set to be released next year. I invite her to read from her work.
Thank you. Good evening. The poem that I'm going to be writing is from my latest book called Requiem for a Home in Manipur, just out from Copper Coins publication. And just to give you a context of this book, on 3rd May 2022, something unimaginable happened in one of the states of India, in Manipur. A conflict broke out where till today it is unresolved, and it has unfortunately not even featured in the national discourse of our country. And 6,000 people were displaced, more than 200 died, homes were broken, colonies burned. So this book is born out of destruction, displacement, and departure. And they say, from the saddest tale comes the sweetest song. I do not know if these are sweet, but nonetheless, they are a result of sorrow, the result of pain. And the poem that I'll be reading out, the first one is called My Dear Mother. Now, just to give you a context, my mother is a fiercely independent, enterprising lady who, until the conflict in Manipur, was running a family estate of spending about 200 acres of land. In that, she ran her own business. And you can imagine having lost that. So when I flew from Delhi to meet her in one of the neighboring states where she took shelter, I thought for a moment, how would I face my mother? All that she and my father built were wiped out overnight. Would she be weeping? Would she be crying? More than her, I struggled at with what face would I meet her? So this is what it is. Dear mother, I realize I'm not so young. When I first saw you, after that night, I looked away, afraid the weight you carried had bent you beyond repair. But there you stood, rooted like weathered stone, unyielding under the storm. Grief's hammer couldn't break you. Every crack had a wildflower pushing through. In that fierce grace, we rose with you. And on that night of displacement, there were 7 members in my family. My father, an anthropologist who's in his late 70s, my mother, my niece, the eldest one was 12, 9, 5, and the youngest one was 2 months old. So this is for my little niece who was just 5 years old. I met her and I tried to extract information about that night to understand if she at all remembers what happened. My little niece, in the back seat, Ramboy sat curled, a wisp of a girl, knees tucked to chest, like a doll left on a shelf too soon. Only for, on that long dark night, her sister carried her, like you carry a story you don't want to forget. I turned from the wheel to ask her softly, do you remember a home? She shook her head, a whisper of curls brushing her cheeks. No, I don't. Why not, my little one? I asked, as if answers might fill the hollow we left behind. Because I was so little, she said, her words slipping through her baby teeth once lived. The pigeons, your little cycle? No, not very much, she whispered. Not very much, yet more than enough to know. And I left it there. She was born there. In that forgotten place, she was free from fear. Anything else? That's it, no? One more? Okay. Do I have time? That's it, no? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. One more? Okay, which one should I read? Two more. Okay. So I'll just read something. So what left me was, of course, we cried, we mourned, we grieved over the lost. And there was also a time when I sort of stopped crying. And the thought that I could stop crying pained me, because you want to remember that. So this is called I Will Cry Louder. I stopped crying for a while, but sorrow pressed at the silence, whispering I shouldn't. If I can't walk that sunlit street where dust and memory danced in the heat, or kneel on the church bench where my mother's prayers soaked into wood, smoothed by time, if I can't sit beneath the mango tree, its leaves humming, the lullabies of lost afternoon, or catch that fleeting whiff of childhood, if my neighbors pass like shadows in a dream, and their faces stir nothing, and I still don't weep, I will weep louder. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for attending this lovely poetry hour session today and for the launch of Dr. Malshri Lal's book. And thank you for listening to all our poets, so lovely. Please attend the poetry hour tomorrow. It's same time, same place, Baithak here at 5:30 p.m. Tomorrow's session is called Poetry Hour Vagrant Poems with Indran Amitranagam, Abhay K, Karuna Azara Parekh, and Jeet Thayal. All our poets will be right behind you. They'll be signing your books, and I'll be there as well signing my books. So hope to see you all there. Thank you.